Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our work session this evening. First order of business is approval of our September 9th work session minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion passes. The only item of
Mayor, I hate to interrupt. We do need Hustle to read that statement into the record. Because we took a vote on the minutes. Or John, do you
I can
need
do
to?
that. Sure. Pursuant to Chapter 610.015 of the Missouri Sunshine Law, members of the City Council who are not physically present in the council chambers can participate and vote on all matters when an emergency exists and the nature of the emergency is stated in the minutes. So I ask that the minutes reflect that unfortunately we are still in this COVID pandemic, particularly as a result of the Delta variant. As a result of that, the City Council is meeting remotely for their own safety as well as safety of the general public.
Thank you. The main item of business tonight is a discussion on some options for the train crossing at Geyer and Monroe Place. Russ, who's going to lead this discussion?
This would be Bill Bensing, with Chris probably chiming in as appropriate.
All right. Welcome, Bill. Welcome, Chris.
Good evening. You want us to go ahead and get started?
Yes,
Sure.
Go ahead, Bill, please.
Yeah.
Okay. At the last council work session that we discussed about the Geyer Monroe intersection, we were asked to go and get with CMT and provide some options to the crossing and to come back with some probable cost estimates based on those options. I know Laurie put out and distributed the CMT memo on there. And so Chris and I are both available for any questions. But I think one of the more notable things in their memo is that they did check the crossing length, because that was one of the questions, is if we went perpendicular or we were going to be shortening the crossing length of the tracks, or what that distance was. And it turned out that there's no reduction in the crossing length if we go perpendicular, or the sidewalk stay that it is today. Okay. When they ran those numbers, CMT, and they found no difference in the crossing distance, probably due to the arc radius or the arc length of the railroad track. It's very wide, so wherever you go along that track, it's about the same distance when you're perpendicular to that arc. Okay, so I think that was pretty interesting that when they did that. The other thing is they broke it down into two alternatives. One alternative is to have the sidewalk outside of the signals and inside of the signals. And as today they're inside the signals today. Okay. And then they went and did some options outside of the signals also for enhancements. And on the options, they also looked at putting it, as I said, perpendicular to the track, crossings. And they also provided some options for an escapable gate. Okay, so if you're crossing the tracks and you got stuck in between the tracks with the train, you could escape the opposite way to get out from the back of the tracks. The other thing I think that was fairly notable that they put in the report also was that the escapable gates, even though it's an additional safety enhancement, it's not a requirement of the Union Pacific, MoDOT, or FRA, because they don't consider this a high-speed rail. The trains that come through the town are less than 60 miles an hour, and so I think that was another notable thing. I guess after that, those key things. If Laurie could put up the alternatives or the options, we'll call them options.
Okay.
Take a look at those.
Just give me one moment to log into it.
Mm-hmm. And we can just discuss those and discuss their probable cost that came up from CMT's look at them. Okay.
Bill, is it the exhibits that you want me to pull up?
Yes, just the exhibits, yes.
Okay.
All right, thanks. That exhibit there, that is the way that is proposed in the project right now. As you see, we kept the sidewalks inside the gates, just improved the gates, just improved the sidewalks and the crossing. So based on their probable cost for right now, it's about they're going to $196,000 to do this option, which will meet ADA requirement and will meet FRA, MoDOT, and UP requirements also. So that's the initial option that is in our contract drawings right now. Laura, you can go to the next one. This one here is the same, putting the sidewalks inside the gates again, okay? But in this one, it gives you can see on the two quadrants an escapable gate, okay? So in case you get caught in between the crossing gates, you can come around the escapable gate in that lower right-hand corner and the upper left-hand corner, okay? But that would be just adding escapable gates with the sidewalks inside of the mast arms, okay? And they put a probable cost there of $618,000. What you'll see is that by putting in the gates, they feel that once we touch the signal cabinets, because you have to add these escapable gates to the signal cabinets, that the UP will most likely require us to change out all the mast arms there, a whole new quadrant gates, the two quadrant gates. So that's why that cost goes up substantially in that estimate. Laura, you want to go to the next one? Thank you. This one here is the one where we talked about going perpendicular to the tracks. You can see how that diverges from the normal travel path right now that's out there. In this one, there's no escapable gates, so that high cost there goes away. And then the other thing is that they have to add additional train pads, the crossing pads that are out there, the concrete crossing pads. So that's where that additional cost comes from, the 196, and it goes up to 249. Okay. Again, all of these will meet ADA compliance and things of that nature. Laurie, you want to go to the last one? Thank you. This one is, again, it just shows it's outside of the gates. This one is outside of the gates, and it has the escapable gates on it also. So that, again, it's all ADA compliant. We do get into the signals with this by adding those pedestrian gates. And this option, the probable cost is, I think, down there $827,000. So basically, that's what the options are they came up with. Again, they'll all meet the ADA compliance. They'll all meet FRA and MoDOT requirements. All four of these options. So based on that, we can have any discussion, because what we're seeking for now is direction. What we need to do is come up with which option we want to go with, give that to the diagnostic team, because we still have to get back with the diagnostic team that did the initial evaluation of the crossing, and get them to sign off on our option that we pick, and then we move forward with the railroad after that. Once we get the railroad signed off on this option, then we can go to preliminary plan approval to MoDOT, which then allows us to move into public meetings also, so we can get public comments on the whole process, on the whole plan. Okay, And then in that same time period, we would be working with the railroad, because based on our option that's selected, we would have to enter into an agreement with the railroad to provide the design services and the cost estimate for construction of whatever option we take. All those things, that'll take some time to do, honestly, with the railroad. But the key here is getting the diagnostic team to sign off on our report and getting MoDOT to sign off on our preliminary plans, so we can then go to public meetings and have additional comments on the whole project. That's what we're looking for right now. So Chris and I are both available for any questions. Chris handled this for us and through with CMT, so he may be able to answer questions more deeply and provide those answers. But we're both available if there's any questions.
Thank you. Bill or Chris, either one. Option one, that's the, if we hadn't had that prior conversation in the last work session, this would have been the, basically what would have happened. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, yes.
Okay. And how does this change what is there right now?
It improves
Option one.
Option one, it just improves the sidewalks. It gets a 5-foot wide sidewalk approaching, and it has the ADA tactile strips. So it's just a basic, I would say a basic sidewalk replacement with ADA compliance.
It also includes a bump out of curbs there.
Okay. All right. Let's go to council questions. Any questions on this? Liz?
So option 3, I just want to make sure I understand. Option 3 would have the sidewalks outside of the gates. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And existing sidewalks would be gone. These would be the only sidewalks to cross in order to cross.
Correct.
I don't know. That seems safer to me. So that's the only question I have.
Bob?
Yeah, I just want to confirm what I think is true is that whichever option we pick would be up to snuff for the all the regulations, the safety requirements, and all of that, correct?
Correct. It'll be all ADA compliant, and we would have to go through MoDOT, UP, and FRA to all sign off on whatever option we take. Yes.
Anything else? All right. Mark?
Yes, it looks like on the alternatives with the pedestrian swing gates, calling a fence on either side of the tracks. Is that fence only installed with the pedestrian swing gate alternatives? Will alternative 1 have no fence?
Correct. The swing gates only have the fencing on it, so people don't wander down the tracks. There's no other fencing on any of the other options.
Okay. And is the first option similar to what we're doing across Kirkwood with other train track crossings? And I just say that because I think whatever we do, I think we should be consistent, or at least attempt to be consistent in our approach.
All the track crossings, pedestrian track crossings on the UP track, they are all inside of the signals, just like these, like the Geyer Road. They're all the same. Leffingwell is a little bit different because it really doesn't have very well-defined sidewalks on Leffingwell. But if you take a look at Holmes, Kirkwood Road, and Taylor, they're all inside the traffic signals. If you go to the Burlington northern side, the sidewalks are on the outside of the signals. So if you go down to Kirkwood Road, down south at the Burlington Northern, those sidewalks are on the outside. And if you go to Geyer and Big Bend, even though there's a lot of stuff going on there, those sidewalks are outside of the traffic of the mast arms also.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Bill.
All right. Wallace.
Well, Bill and Chris, thanks for getting us the updated information here. It's really helpful in us seeing the options that are out there. I'm going to make an assumption. You can tell me if I'm wrong, that this was all new to you guys too, and that you got a fresh look at some options out there. I would like for you taking the dollar signs off of them and only considering efficiency and safety for residents in the community and for travelers through the community. Which option would you select?
Based on what we know now, I would keep it similar to Council Member Zimmer, is keep it consistent in how it is today. Okay. We've looked through the history, and there's been no incidents with pedestrians on these tracks as they are today. Throughout Kirkwood, we had some car incidences, and further down the track. And I think trying to make it perpendicular to the track, it really doesn't get us any crossing, and that's the big thing with all of these, is reducing the pedestrian crossing. It gets us, really, it doesn't change that crossing distance, okay? It does get you separated from the tracks, further from the tracks, but that increases the cost because we have to add those additional pads to do that, okay? And that's where the increased cost is. So that becomes, that conundrum, safety versus cost, okay? How much safer is it? But if we haven't had any incidences recordable in the past, that I would go back to our original design. To be honest with you, our job is to provide safe crossings throughout our project goals are always the same, is to provide the safest and most economical project we can do. And that's where we meet all the criteria. All these meet all the same criteria.
Okay, thanks, Bill. I can't argue with that logic. The final question for you. None of this railroad crossing cost was presented in the East-West Gateway grant application?
Correct.
Am I correct in that? If we delayed this work and did the roads up to it and south of it, or north and south of it, could we come back with a grant application for just this railroad work and get whatever we wanted at only 20% of the cost, rather than the Christmas present that the taxpayers are giving to the railroad with this one?
Yes, we could. That would always be an option. Okay. I don't know how well it would score. Okay. And that's always the big thing, because when you go through this, the scoring is based on the road pavement condition, and the pavement condition would be better except for this gap. I'm not saying we couldn't, but we could. But we would not be fixing some of the, that hump that you have going northbound or southbound. When you go across that track, that big hump, that would still be there. We wouldn't be able to correct that hump.
Yeah, what is our barrier there? How far from the rail are we on that south side before it becomes out of the railroad easement or right of way?
Oh, that hump is all within the right of way. Basically, where the fire hydrant is on that south side. That's the right of way line.
That's how far we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Kara, did you have anything?
I don't, thanks.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. I think we've heard all comments from council. I'll give my opinion on it, and others chime in. I think based on what we've got here, not just cost-wise, I would tend to stick with option one. I think some of the other, you went to an option 4, you might as well redo the whole intersection. I mean, redo everything. And option, the one about just having the sidewalks outside, just without having the pedestrian gates makes no sense. So, I mean, from my standpoint, I think option 1 is the one we should direct staff to go with. Does anybody have any other differing opinions on that?
Mayor, I like option 1, but I would like it also if we put it in an East-West Gateway grant and we only paid for 20% of it.
Is that there's still going to be potential for more grant money, not that they would approve this. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, we could definitely in the next cycle, if that's what the council wants us to do, we can definitely put it in as a grant and see how that comes up. And we can discuss that with East West Gateway between now and then also.
But and maybe I worded that wrong. Isn't it even with the current situation that there's some flexibility if our costs are higher that we could go back for? Maybe I'm getting confused with another project.
No, there is a possibility. We will probably, depending on what the railroad comes back with for an additional cost. We don't know. These are probable costs. Okay, seeing what they come back with, we do have the option to make a one-time 10% increase request of our funding. Okay, and that is at the option of East West Gateway. But I think we could put together a pretty good supporting document to get that. So I think, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 1.3 million or 1.5 million.
Yeah, total project costs, their federal match is around just over 1.2 million. And so getting a 10% cost increase would get us about 120,000. So about half of what option 1 could be funded by MoDOT.
All right. We have any other comments or questions on this? All right. Bob.
I could. Yeah, I just want to clarify that, make sure I'm understanding. We could wait and do a different leave this alone for now, do a different application for a grant later, even if we selected option 1, and perhaps get more funds, but we wouldn't maybe necessarily score really well. Or we could do it now and get this additional 10%, the 125,000 or whatever it is that would be contributed by others, right?
Correct. We would request that additional funding.
Okay. Well, just to state where my thoughts are, I always thought option 1 was the way to go, and I think that and I thought that even without understanding that under that 10% rule, we might get a chunk of it covered. So I would go with it, do it now while the project while the rest of the project's being worked on. And so I support option 1 and going back for that 10%.
Would you like to make that motion then, Bob?
Absolutely, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
All right. Now, questions or comments? Liz, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wondered if we do go for a East-West Gateway grant, could we then also include the arms we've been talking about to try to get Monroe turning south open again?
Yeah, we can put anything we want in front of them for a grant, okay? So if that's the desire of the council, we can put a grant together like that, yes.
And
Any other,
yeah, just kind of a follow-up to that. And if we did that, what Liz is suggesting, then we would, we'd still do this sidewalk arrangement, option one, we'd build it, have it done, and then go back later to try to do a different kind of crossing, a different kind of guard rail
Yes.
to get rid of the thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Just a question, Mayor.
yeah, well,
Bill, on the scoring, if we did that, well, so I'm just trying to think here. If we went for a grant in the future for the removal of the barrier there on the Monroe Place, would we score better if we still had the hump there to overcome?
Probably not as much, because this becomes a safety improvement, okay? And we'd have to really look hard at that, okay? And the other thing is, before, we would probably have some deep conversations with Union Pacific also, because of that medium and the quiet zone issues that go along with that. We want to make sure that whatever we do at that one doesn't impact any place else, okay? But yes, if we left the hump in there, it would score, but I don't think it'd be a measurable scoring, okay? Because it becomes a smaller piece of the score when you take it out of the road preservation.
Okay, thanks.
all right. Anything else from council on this? We have a motion to go with option one. All right. Seeing no more questions or comments, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say no.
No,
Motion passes. We have any other business at the work session? I don't think we do. All right. So with that, we've got a little bit of time, so we'll see everybody at 6:50 for the regular meeting. This meeting is adjourned.